The first three phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe were incredible. Avengers Endgame neatly packed up the mystery of the Infinity Stones after an exciting 11 years, and we doubt success like that will be mimicked again. And a lot of that success is thanks to the Russo brothers. But what exactly are their plans for the future, and when are they making their return? Let's find out what they had to say. First up, when are the Russo brothers returning to the MCU? The MCU's famed directing team, Joe and Anthony Russo, have recently revealed when they'll be returning to the franchise. Since co-directing Captain America: The Winter Soldier in 2014, easily one of the best movies by the MCU ever, the duo, more commonly known as the Russo brothers, have worked on many more important Marvel projects. These include Avengers: Infinity War, Captain America: Civil War, and Avengers: Endgame. If you look at the movies they have a hand in, you'll see how important each one of them was to the franchise. Winter Soldier introduced us to one of the best villains of the franchise, who turned out to be nothing more than a victim of Hydra in Civil War. The latter set up the huge divide among the Avengers, which was then explored in Infinity War while they tried to save the Earth. Not to mention that Avengers: Endgame took things to a whole other level when all the superheroes minus Black Widow finally appeared in the final battle sequence. The Russo brothers, in the opinion of many, have improved the MCU's surroundings for the better. The duo elevated MCU movies to a new epic level, something that other franchises can only dream of doing. Each one of their movies would become the most popular and critically acclaimed of all time. So, of course, when they spoke to Variety, they were asked if they had plans to return to Marvel and when that would be. Unfortunately, you'll have to wait a while. If they will be working on anything, it won't be until the end of the decade. Moving on, what does the Russo brothers' absence mean for the MCU? We don't doubt that fans who have adored the Russo brothers' work will be disappointed by this news. You can't deny the influence they had on the MCU for the greater part of a decade, and not to mention, the recent phase has been all over the place, so their absence is being particularly felt by audiences. Some people probably got their hopes up that the Russo brothers would return to direct Avengers: Secret Wars. This is because no director has yet been assigned to it, though some reports claim that Black Panther filmmaker Ryan Coogler Jr. may have the job in the bag. Without the Russos, many fans wonder if the upcoming MCU movies will be able to bring back the same epic scope as both Infinity War and Endgame had. And you can't blame them, because none of the other movies have compared, though many will say that Spider-Man: No Way Home did come close to that achievement. But it's not like the Russo brothers have been sitting dormant since Endgame. The Gray Man, an original Netflix action movie from them, was released this year and has the potential to start a new franchise. Plus, they have another action-adventure movie in the works by the name of The Electric State. It stars Millie Bobby Brown, Chris Pratt, Stanley Tucci, Giancarlo Esposito, Anthony Mackie, Jenny Slate, Ke-Huy Quan, and Billy Bob Thornton. The cast alone has us excited. To clarify, Joe and Anthony Russo may not be returning to the MCU anytime soon, but their legendary careers are still very much alive. They'll return when the time is right. Up next, should the Russo brothers return at all? Yes, their movies with Marvel were amazing, but their success was largely dependent on the work that other filmmakers, cast, and crew had done in the past. Just look at Hemsworth's Thor in Avengers: Infinity War. While that is easily the best version of Thor we have ever seen in movies, the reason for it was Taika Waititi's Thor Ragnarok. With Ragnarok, we saw a whole other side to the hero who was mainly kinda a dumb jock before. It was Taika who made Thor funny, kind, smart, and more powerful than we could ever have imagined, so it was easy for them to use that and give us an amazing version of the superhero. The reason this is so obvious is because of how terribly they treated Thor in Endgame. Of course he was depressed, and yes, he gave up on everything over the next 5 years, but they made him the butt of the jokes once again instead of finding a better way to present this misery. Fat jokes aren't funny anymore, period. Plus, Marvel fatigue is a real thing. Nobody wants to see the same thing again and again. The Russo brothers had a good run with the MCU that has also helped launch their careers, but it's time to allow new directors to take a stab at the new movies and series in the franchise and give us something refreshing. This is a good strategy if Marvel hopes to find success once again. Coming up, did the Russos' Captain America change help avoid Superman's problem? The Russo brothers achieved a lot with the MCU projects assigned to them, one of which was to really understand Captain America. And with that, they were able to avoid a major problem that has plagued DC's Superman. One of the reasons Steve Rogers has been a super compelling character is because of how he managed to deal with his Golden Age hero ideals while trying to fit into the modern world. world. We first met Cap in the 1940s when he became a symbol of patriotism. Just like other men at that time, he felt he was contributing to betterment by playing a huge role in the war. We know it's what he wants most. But what now? Decades have passed. Iron Man isn't anything like his comrades, but one argument later, he's fighting right beside him as a hypnotized Hawkeye tries to bring down their ship. Later in Winter Soldier, he's forced to see his comrade being treated like a weapon and works against those in charge of securing his country to save his friend. We see his worldview change constantly. He's regularly forced to deal with his place in the world and in his team, and he doesn't hesitate to choose what he's sure is right, which, let's face it, is always the case. He was the heart of the MCU saga, and why he's always held a special place in the hearts of fans. Superman shares most of Cap's personality traits, such as being a seemingly incorruptible individual. Unfortunately, DC hasn't come close to showing us the layers the way MCU has with Steve Rogers. Next, why are fan reactions to Captain America and Superman so different? Between Christopher Reeve's humorous interpretation and Henry Cavill's grittier interpretation, Superman varies drastically with every iteration. Sure, both versions can portray the character's strengths and weaknesses, but neither one gives the whole story. While Henry Cavill's Superman has only made 3 appearances in nearly 10 years, Captain America received 8 appearances and more than 4 hours of screen time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Between Captain America: The First Avenger and The Avengers, Captain America adapted to the modern world. In Captain America: The Winter Soldier, he rebelled against authority. In Avengers: Age of Ultron, he developed into a full-fledged superhero leader. In Captain America: Civil War, he refused to compromise his principles. And in Avengers: Infinity War, he was defeated. Then there was the blip where he evolved some more and eventually saved the universe. Not to forget, he finally learned to put himself first. Of course, Cap's story is deeper. He has more movies to back up his growth. On the other hand, DC's inconsistency became one of the reasons why we just didn't feel the same way about Superman. Finally, it started off the same way for both of them. When DC released Man of Steel, it was a promising start for the superhero we've come to love in the pages of comic books. He was strong, easy on the eyes, and ignited hope whenever he popped up. Captain America was the same in The First Avenger. The movie isn't perfect, but offered a strong foundation for the superhero we would learn so much about. But that's where the similarities ended. We had 2 superheroes, so alike, yet treated very differently by each studio. With Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, they attempted to do something similar to The Winter Soldier. However, their focus on building a universe the size of Marvel made them lose focus. Not to mention the ease with which Superman was manipulated by Lex Luthor was simply laughable. Cap remained a focus for Marvel on the sides while they built the iconic Avengers team, while DC pushed Cavill aside for the majority of Justice League and focused on building a box office hit instead of focusing on crafting strong characters, which eventually led to their downfall. We can only hope that Cavill has better luck this time around. That's a wrap for this video. Are you excited for the Russo brothers to return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.